we're rolling. It shows a red dot. And then 3, 4, 5. Yep, it's counting. Man, you wouldn't know how many times in the past on stuff where I'd be like doing a video and then I realized I didn't have the camera going. All right, so we're rolling. It's Friday. This video has no point to it. It's a rambling video. So if you're somebody that needs me to get to the point of something and tell you something exciting, this is your warning to leave right now and go look for a different video because you'll be disappointed. Okay, so this is just a rambling video. I'm just checking in. Going to try to keep it brief, which it probably won't be brief because I tend to ramble on. Just wanted to pop on here and say, hey, hello to my subscribers that are subscribing. I appreciate people leaving the comments, even people that leave comments that say, man, get to the point. You're rambling all over the place. You need to get to your point of your video. Because it makes me laugh. Man, you can leave whatever comments you want. I think that's funny. And I think I even said in that video, I didn't go back and watch, but I'm like, I saw that and I laughed. I'm like, well, of course, that's who I am. I'm going to ramble on. So if you're trying to get to a video that's going to get to the point fast and give you some secret information, man, this is the wrong channel for you. And I was like, I think I even said that in that video, that somebody would complain that I wasn't getting to the point fast enough. But I appreciate the comment because it made me laugh. So, anyway, thanks for the comments people are leaving. I enjoy them and find good information in them. And I hope I get a lot more comments and people share information with me because that's, I mean, man, half the stuff I learn, I get from reading YouTube comments on channels and stuff. And man, I've had so many good rabbit trails that I've went down. And it was just from a comment in a video where somebody was like, hey, you should look into this or whatever to the other people in the comments. So I love people leaving comments, so I appreciate it. And what else is going on? It's Friday. It's been a long week. I did get my first chapter of my book put up on here. Took me a long time, man. I'm not really good with all the computer stuff like other people, or I don't know. Like, I think a lot of people probably put stuff together a lot faster than me, so it takes me a long time. So I persevered and got that first chapter of the book that I'm doing put up. I think I'm on chapter 6 right now. So it's kind of a work in progress, but I plan to be putting the chapters up as I'm getting them done. So I have like 1 through 5 done. I think I'm finishing 5 and 6. So I have several more finishes, just a matter of getting them put up. And, you know, hoping that, I mean, if people have interest, I mean, if 1 or 2 people find interest in it, that's all I care about. So I'm not looking for big numbers or trying to get monetized or try to have like some huge subscriber. I mean, it's cool if I get lots of subscribers, but, you know, I'm not planning to be like, oh, hey, come over onto my other thing, and if you pay money, you can get this, you know, extra information, because, I mean, there's nothing wrong with that, but just telling people. In these beginning videos, I'm just going to share some stuff on where my channel's going, and that's not what this channel's about. I don't have a problem with whatever other people are doing, so don't take it like I have a problem with it, but this type of information, I just don't feel right charging people for it. You know, if I'm talking about biblical stuff, I just buy the truth and sell it not, you know. I've always had a problem with that. Like, I was into Satanism, so I was like a Satanist. I was into the occult and witchcraft really heavy when I was a teenager. And when I came out of it, then I got into the Christian stuff, and I was actually a DJ at a Christian radio station as a late teen, you know, which is crazy. I go from witchcraft to being a DJ at a Christian radio station. But I really didn't like the way that they monetized all that, you know. I don't know, like, just a personal thing. I'm kind of like, hey, you're charging people for the gospel or for biblical knowledge, like you're going to charge people. So my personal thing is I really don't have, as long as I'm talking about Bible stuff or whatever, I'm not going to be charging people for it. Now, if I get monetized or something and YouTube wants to give me money because of whatever, I don't care about that. Or if people want to give me money or something to help out with stuff, say I want to print off some books because people want them, I don't have a problem, but I'm not going to charge for the books. You know, that's my thing. It's like, if people want to donate to help in a project or something, I see people do that, you know, and then they give them away, I'm okay with that. But I just don't feel right charging for biblical information, biblical type knowledge. So I'm not really trying to do any of that. So that's why I guess I'm probably going to be a little bit more lackadaisical about this channel, because I'm not really trying to build it into some business or make money off of it or something like that. You know, if I'm doing stuff, and for me personally, if I'm doing something that's not that way, and I'm telling you, oh, hey, I can show you how to rebuild a chainsaw, or, do some kind of stuff that's not biblical, yeah, I don't have a problem then being like, oh, I'll show you this much, but then come over to my Patreon and be a subscriber and I'll give you more detailed information. I don't have a problem personally doing that, but not with the Bible. So this channel is not going to be like, I'm not trying to build it into some business or something. So hopefully, I mean, that's like, it's a temptation because you can make a lot of money doing this stuff. I mean, I really could. Like with my background, I'm like, and my background in the Christian stuff and Christian radio, I see how you can make a lot of money off of this type of stuff. And I hope that I don't ever get lured into that. That's kind of one of my worries because, you can be tempted into making money off this stuff. So if I start trying to seem I'm leaning that way, you guys correct me in the comments and be like, hey, I thought you weren't going to try to make money by selling the gospel on here or something, I'm already rambling. But see, this video, I had no point to this video. I'm just like, it's Friday evening. I need to put a video up. I should say hi to people. So that's what I'm doing. And what else do I want to touch on? The Indian stuff, man. The Indian stuff, I totally believe we're in the little season. I believe the Indians came out of the Millennial Kingdom. I think we all came out of the Millennial Kingdom. And where I'm going with that in the future, to show why I think that, I'll give you details, but I'll just tell you kind of what my belief is right now anyway. What I'm seeing from my evidence is that we came out of the Millennial Kingdom and they're trying to erase all of it. And that's why they were putting everybody in insane asylums and stuff, is because it's like this whole thing with the 2020 stuff that happened, right? If you didn't go along with the narrative and you tried to tell people, hey, I was just at, the news is doing an article, the news here, okay, the news is showing on the nightly news that the local hospital is inundated and they have it's so busy that the ambulance, they had to put beds in the ambulance bay and stuff, right? And they're showing this on the news. Well, then I end up there, or my wife does with my daughter, at the emergency room, like that day. I'm pretty sure it was that day. If at the most, it was the next day from when that was videoed. And they were hyping it all up like all around the nation. Oh, the hospitals are inundated. They don't have room. They're having to find room to put people. They're putting them in the ambulance bay. And so my wife goes up there to the emergency room with my daughter for something minor. Like, I don't remember, she's dehydrated or something, needed an IV. And I'm thinking they're going to be there a long time. They get back. I'm like, did you not go? I mean, like, I was like, they're inundated, right? So you're thinking they're going to be there a long time. They're like, no, there was nobody there. We went in and they helped us right away. It was the quickest we've ever been in and out of the hospital. And I'm like, what are you talking about? And she's like, there's nobody there. Like, or, no, they're not overrun. There's not people waiting in the waiting room like normal. It was all a lie, right? It's all a lie. But see, if you try to tell people, the average people, that, they just think you're crazy and making it up because they believe the news. They believe the narrative. And see, then if you start trying to push this too much and tell people, like on this thing, they'll shut you down. Like, you'll lose your channel. So, I mean, I don't think it's the same degree right now as back then. But, you see that in history. Hey, this is the narrative. And so I think when we came out of it, and all the way through different times, maybe it's been to a different level of how much they enforce it, depending on what narrative they're wanting to set. But they crack down and they tell you, if you don't want to toe the line and you be a troublemaker, well, you're going to go to the insane asylum. That's what I think was happening. And so with the Indians have all this stuff more than I think a lot of the other people. They, for whatever reason, were really still connected to a lot of that Millennial Kingdom stuff. And so that's why. I mean, you look at the stuff and you start thinking of it in that time, that mindset, like you go like, oh, this makes sense. Because when you look at the narrative of what they did to the Indians, you're like, man, we were really like crazy people. Like, what did they do to the, like, we've never treated an enemy this way before, I mean, what did we do to the Vietnamese after we, in Vietnam and Korea and World War, you look at how we've dealt with all the wars. I mean, you look at we have the South. I mean, in the Civil War with the South, and what did they do to those people when they lost? We never treated anybody like the Indians. And the reason why, I believe, like, I'm more and more finding stuff, and I'm talking to people who are like, no, there's a lot of Indians that say there's the Indians like that know stuff, but they aren't out there telling people. Just like, us, we're not going to run out everywhere and say, hey, do you believe in the this or that about, some conspiracy theory? Because you don't want to be branded as crazy. And there's Native Americans like that, they're like, no. And if you get in the right circles and you talk to them and they realize, oh, you're looking for the truth, you're not going to say I'm crazy. They're like, they start saying some wild stuff. And then and you start looking at from the concept of where some of us are at in the Millennial Kingdom being passed, and you go like, whoa, these people had a lot of knowledge. Like, they kept some stuff from the Millennial Kingdom, I think, and that's why the government went after them so hard. That's why I'm sitting right here. I'm not going to turn the camera, but I'll show you. And so, I'm right here. The mountains are right there. I could walk to the mountains, and that's wilderness. And from when I could walk right there, like, what is it? It's probably like 4 miles to the forest boundary. And from there on, it's like 80 miles of wilderness. And that's where the Nez Perce and they were. That was part of their land that they kicked them off of. And they didn't kick them off it to take it. If they had took them off of it, kicked them off of it to take it, to make it into something, then I'm like, oh, that sounds like what we would have done. But they just kicked them off of it, and now they don't let any. They never put roads in there. And where they did put roads, they're taking the roads out now. They're like, no, you can't go back there. They don't want us going back there. And so the cats are fighting over here. I don't know if that shows up. I'm like, holy cow, they're fighting. But so some of it with this Indian stuff, I think that they came out of the Millennial Kingdom and they held a lot of the knowledge still. They didn't hold it all perfect, you know what I mean? But they still had strong stuff that the government, I think they're like, no, we don't want this getting out. That's why, and so that's why the need to remove the Indians from their land. And like, why didn't they just make a reservation out here? Like, it's all wilderness right now. There's nothing there. Why didn't they just say, okay, you guys can keep this little area of your land and that's your reservation? But they didn't. They're like, no, you have to go way over, you need to go like 400 miles over here and we'll stick you out here. You can have that land. Well, why not give them that amount of land out here? Because they didn't want them tied to that land. That's why. Because there's stuff out there. There's stuff out there, man. Like, look up the Sage Wall in Montana. There's stuff out there, and these people know that, and these people say, the people who remember, who have the memory in the oral tradition that didn't get erased from, they say, no, this stuff, we didn't build that stuff. That stuff was here when we came here, according to our oral tradition. Like, we came here, and that stuff was here. And our government doesn't want us to know about that, because then we'll go digging around looking for stuff out there. And also, that's why they had the history, and I believe they still do, and it will come back out, because I don't believe that God's going to let Satan totally erase it. He's leaving it's there for us who seek. If you seek the truth, you will find it. God's not going to allow Satan to deceive everybody. This isn't to the Millennial Kingdom, but there's that verse that says, if it were possible, even the elect would be fooled. That means, like, if it was possible. Well, it's not possible. God's not going to let the elect remnant be fooled. He always keeps a remnant. And so he's never going to let Satan completely erase everything. So if those who are diligent and want to seek for the truth will find it. And so I believe this stuff is there if we look for it. And they had a lot of knowledge, and they had a lot of the Hebrew stuff that would have been, they have so much stuff, you're like, wow, that sounds like you read Zechariah and Isaiah and stuff. Hey, what's going on during the Millennial Kingdom? The Indians have a lot of that stuff, in their past. But they removed a lot of it because they took them and they moved them way away from their lands. They took their kids from them. They took all their kids. Their kids all had to go to American boarding schools and be re-indoctrinated, which is what they do to our kids. Your kids got to go to the public school and learn what we tell them. And if you don't, hey, you can't say, oh, I question 9/11. Kids like, okay, you're out of here. You're crazy. You have to go with the narrative or you get in trouble. That's what they did to the Indian kids. They took all their kids away from them, and they all had to go to get indoctrinated. They made them change their names. They couldn't keep their Indian names. They had to learn English, and they were punished for speaking their native, whatever it was, whether they were Sioux or Hopi or whatever. whatever Cherokee, they basically did everything they could to erase their language from them so that they couldn't, and they punished the adults if they didn't speak English because they like, hey, give us a generation or two and we can erase the memory of the Indians. And they did a pretty dang good job of it. And the reason why they did that, it ain't what they tell us. What they tell us doesn't make any sense. It's like, let them keep their language. Okay, they can learn English. Why do they have to not remember their language? They don't want them remembering their language because they don't want that oral memory passed down, the oral tradition, right? They don't want them remembering that. They don't want that history being passed down. They want to erase that, and they want the new generations to remember a new history. And man, that's what happened. I believe it. Like the stuff we're told about the Indians is so in the stuff that, I mean, you see it, man. It was like sigil magic, the stuff they're putting in the movies in the 1940s and stuff about the cowboys and Indians. I don't believe any of it. And I've ran into Native Americans and they're like, yeah, that's not how we were. But you can't go around and say it because there's so many Native Americans that have bought into it, and then they'll be like, no, it's just like Americans. Oh no, maybe World War II or something, Vietnam, it wasn't the story that they're telling us. And people be like, you try to suggest that to people and they're like, what are you? You're not patriotic. You know what I mean? And they say the same thing within the Native Americans. No, it was magic, man. The whole Hollywood stuff was part of erasing the memory and creating a new concept of what the Native Americans really were, and they did a dang good job of it. So, how am I at? Oh, I'm at 16 minutes. This video is getting really long, but man, I see so much stuff. I mean, I'm going to try to do some videos and show you this stuff. There is tunnels in Missoula, Montana, where they kept elephants. I mean, this is from the old newspaper articles. Tunnels underground in Missoula, and people didn't know. But you tell people about this now, they think you're crazy. They're like, you're crazy, man. I'm like, well, it's in the news. And then you can go to those places and see. And then they have to say, like, the news will admit and say, well, there is some buried tunnels in Missoula, but it was from what? We all know what the story is. It was from the Prohibition days when they were running alcohol. And I'm like, yeah, well, there's old newspaper articles that I can still find, and that doesn't fit that narrative. I mean, the circus was coming to town, and they had elephants in the tunnels and stuff. Crazy stuff. I'll share some of that stuff in these coming videos. Man, it's crazy. Like the stuff around here is just crazy. Once the dominoes start to fall and you start looking at the narrative, it's crazy. You look at the state prison. The old state prison back then that they were building during the Sitting Bull and Custer days, and you're looking at that thing going like, this is like a castle. This does not fit the narrative of the Wild West, right? Like you're looking at the movies and the books and the stuff, and you see the whole Sitting Bull, Crazy Horse, Custer's Last Stand stuff, and you're like looking at that, and you get that concept, right, that they want you to have. You watch the John Wayne movies, and you see that's what they're telling us it was like, right? In the history, the official history, what you're taught in school about Sitting Bull and the Custer's Last Stand, right? But then you see this prison that's like a castle, and you're like, and you're not relating. I mean, I wasn't relating of the history. I'm like, oh yeah, old prison, that's cool, that's crazy. But then you go like, no, they built this when Custer, around that time. This was the Wild West. They're fighting Sitting Bull, but yet they're building this castle over here. And I'm like, what? That's the dominoes for me, man. It starts falling. You start looking at this stuff. It's almost like two different. They didn't do a very good job when you start looking at it because you're like, wait a minute. If they're building that castle, why are they having such a hard time with these Indians with bows and arrows? I mean, they're building that castle and it's just supposedly a prison, right? Oh, we need a prison. Let's build this castle to keep the prisoners in. It's a better place than most of the people in Montana are staying. I mean, you know what I mean? You look at it, at the history, it's like, oh, well, what were people supposedly living in? Oh, these old sod huts and log homes and shacks. And the businesses were all, the traditional Western business, right? The boards, old wooden structures of the general store. And you're like, yeah, but those people said, we have some criminals and we need to put them in the prison. So we're going to need a prison. And so these poor people, they're living in sod houses and log homes and they're these ramshackle Western towns are like, let's build a castle. That's what we need to do. I think these prisoners need a place to stay and they need a castle to stay in. It makes no sense. Go look up the Montana State Prison, the old Montana State Prison, and look at it. And you think about, like, yeah, they built that during, look at when they say, yeah, it's during the Indian times when they're fighting off the Indians and the covered wagons are coming west. And the people get here and they decide to build a prison, and that's what they build as a castle. It's like, no, that's crazy. So that's my take for today. I'm going to cut this thing off because I'm just rambling and rambling about this stuff. It's just insane, man. It's insane that we believed any of that narrative. Because when you look at it, it's like, how did I ever believe that stuff? You know how? Because we're in the time of deception. And I was deceived. But for some reason, God decided to open my eyes and said, oh, hey, you're somebody I don't want to be deceived. And he started showing it to me. And I'm like, okay, I want the truth. Or maybe it's a combination. I'm like, no, I want the truth. As hard as it is, I'll accept it the best I can. I want the truth. And now I just look at the world going like, how did I ever believe this stupid stuff that they tried to tell us? All right, more to come in my next broadcast. Man, if you got this far in the video, I don't know, you must be crazy too. But I appreciate you guys tuning in and subscribing and leaving comments, and I'll catch you on the next video. Have a great one. Bye.
This is Echo Pass Outpost checking in from the edge of the map. If you can hear this signal, you can still escape the Matrix.